All right, it's a bonus episode with Nick and Michael, and we're going to be talking about the recent past
Symposium,
merchant
medicine symposium
that we had a chance to attend in Nashville. Michael, what's up, man?
Hello, yeah, this is a bonus episode. So reason why we put this one out now is because it just happened a week ago. So here we are. We're in the first full week of October. Last week, the October 1, we were in Nashville, hanging out with a bunch of cool people at the symposium. And by the way, Virgin Hotels is legit.
I mean, how cool were they really?
Never been to a Virgin Hotel in my life. I didn't realize
that was cool.
I didn't realize that there's only like 5 or 10 of those in the country. Because I was like, man, we should go find this hotel more often. And it's like, oh, that's why it's only one in Southeast.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, right. So anyway, love the hotel, fantastic Virgin Hotel thing. But no, the symposium, super cool. It felt like we were behind closed doors for one time. Like we, not want to say we weren't supposed to be there, but it was an invite only situation. So thank you, April with Solv, for sending the invite to us. We loved it. Got to sponsor the DJ, which actually was really good music.
Yeah, he did a good job. I enjoyed it.
Arguably, that pool party thing was actually really good. Got some great conversations from it. But yeah, it was neat because to kind of set the tone of what this thing was about. So it was basically some of your most dominant urgent cares in the country came here. And you had some vendors as well. Not many vendors. I mean, there may have been, 10 or 15 vendors?
There wasn't a lot of vendors. I'm counting 4 on one side, a couple in the middle near the food. And
plus the sponsors around. So yeah, less than 20 for sure. But then the urgent cares, there were some big players. They said at the beginning, in the room represented 40 to 50 million patients per year that were being served, which was wild to think about.
It's a lot of people being served in the urgent care space for sure, because that's such a small fraction, like in that room, of actual urgent cares out there. Because if you think about it, with all the players and everybody that were in that room, they were bringing in as top dog as you can find. As far
Amazon.
As I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about Carbon Health and
American Family Care,
people that are going to represent a large number of urgent cares at one time. But even if you add up all the urgent cares that were in the room, there was maybe 2,000 locations represented. Yeah. There's 15,000 urgent cares.
Yeah, they said there are 15,000 locations right now in the country that are urgent cares. And yeah, like you said, a couple of thousand were represented in that room, that relatively small room, right? It wasn't a huge auditorium type thing. It was there were probably total 120 people in the whole thing. But it was cool because their concerns were not exactly what we thought their concerns would be.
Right.
Different conversations were happening.
Let me tell you what, there was a payer there, or a representative for a payer, and you could see the daggers in everybody's eyes while she was speaking. They just wanted to lynch her. Yeah. And take her off stage and just throw her in the pool. Yeah, you could tell.
It was interesting because she came on to talk about I've had this experience with this, I've had experience with this, and then it gave me all the experience with payers, and this is what I'm here to tell you. And yeah, the room was there was some pressure in the room.
Man, you could cut the tension with a knife.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then right afterwards, we're sitting there at lunch, and this I don't know the guy's name, but this guy, he represented a ton of urgent cares, and he was red in the face, aggravated.
Man, he was mad.
He was mad because he's like, we've done all the things that she said to do, and it did nothing. We're now, threatening the payer that we're just going to shut down our business. See how, because what we were learning from that one talk was the point of an urgent care in the payer's eyes is how many emergency department avoidance numbers did you get?
See, and it's funny. I tend to go to the negative side of things by default. I don't mean to. It's not even that I love this about myself for sure. But what I heard her say is that you don't bring enough value to pay money to. That's what I heard her say from stage.
That's what insurance is viewing you as. Yeah. And they're not viewing as
you're not good enough to pay. That's what I heard.
Yeah, which is wild to think about because the pushback was, if we didn't exist, you'd be paying $1,000 per patient visit minimum, because they would all go to ER.
They would all go to the ER, or they would just be sick and they would be on some other kind of insurance issue.
Yeah, well, yeah, they'll get sick and get more sick, and that minor issue becomes major, and now they're at a hospital stay.
Yeah, I've learned that a dirty word in the urgent care space is value-based reimbursement or value-based pay. Yeah. However the reimbursement works.
Or payer contracts.
Right. So, but I know everybody that's listening to this are like, these two idiots that are on this podcast don't understand value-based. Like, no, because we're on the lead generation side of things. We're bringing new patients to the table. I will tell you, Michael, my biggest takeaway that I actually disagree with, but it is what it is, that this guy obviously knows more than I do, is there was a man, I don't want to mention his name or his company, but he represented a large number of urgent cares, and you could see the deflation on his face when he said hospitals have won. And I'm like, I don't think that's true, but like at the same time, he's in it every day, right?
Yeah.
And he just said, flat out that the hospital systems have won. And I'm going, that's such a shame to me.
Yeah.
Like there has to be some form or way to legislate or to lobby or to figure out some kind of a way to prove value without having to be attached to a hospital system just to get paid. I don't know. Something seems off by that.
And I get it because like the hot topic was reimbursements have not increased. They've stayed flat.
We knew that.
We've
been talking about that now since COVID,
like,
right?
Yeah, and they were just, it was kind of interesting because they were confirming things that we've always talked about,
Right.
but we've never had an urgent care tell us directly. We just figured out being in the industry these things, but having like top tier people say the same problem over and over again.
Right.
But yeah, like reimbursement's flat, expenses are up. UCA is going out and lobbying. We'll have an episode on that actually pretty soon. We're interviewing that Kristen about what their lobbying looks like, trying to get reimbursements to increase because they need to.
Shout out to Lou Ellen. We saw her while we were there.
Yeah, Lou Ellen, you were there too. It's awesome to see you. Always great to reconnect with you. But yeah, it was just super interesting where at the end of the day, so if we're going to boil down some things for the urgent cares that are listening, stick to your core, do it extremely well, and don't give up. Because there were some conversations about weight loss and other things, and they all kind of said, don't do this until you've gotten everything else figured out.
Yeah, we even talk about that. Once you hit to that 60 patient per day, which is, in my opinion, the ultimate goal of every location, you want to be at that 60 patient per day. At that point, you can start looking at ancillary ways to make money, and I get that. But yeah, we talk about that even on this podcast. But I hated to see that deflated look on that gentleman's face from this large player, and the hospital system that was 2 seats down from him on this panel.
Yeah.
There was a lady in between the two, but she didn't get to talk a whole lot to you guys.
It was a good panel discussion.
Yeah, they had a lot to talk about. But the other guy sat there and like in one hand with a cheeky grin saying, yeah, we did beat you. And then on the other hand, but we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that was the funny part. It's like urgent cares know what they're doing and can't get paid. Hospitals can get paid and don't know what they're doing. And I'm going, how can y'all not find a way to bridge the gap here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they all recognize they're very different.
Yeah.
And they are. We know that.
You would think at this point that they would just simply come up with an idea where the hospital would be the umbrella, so the payer has to go through the hospital, but then let an internal entity run the urgent care that runs urgent cares, which is interesting because we have a urgent care client right now. They actually took over an ER and converted it to an urgent care center, which just happened like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So we don't have any data on, say, is it working well or not. But it's an interesting concept because they had the hospital system said, we can't handle this ER anymore. It's ran poorly or whatever. And then we built a new one down about a mile away. And they had like an empty shell. And our client came in and said, we'll take it over, make it an urgent care. So we'll find out. Is there a perception issue also when it comes to hospitals and urgent care connected to it?
Right.
So it's real interesting.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I think we had been saying it incorrectly, although we did know what we were talking about. We just weren't saying it in your own verbiage. If you're listening and you run an urgent care, the 3 things that every urgent care has to track. The 3 KPIs, the key results areas, whatever. One of them is patients per day.
Yep, we knew that one.
Okay.
We were confident about that one.
The other one is door to door, 45 minutes or less.
Yep.
Right. What was the third?
Oh gosh. And now I'm going to forget. I have it written down my my desk.
I say quick, go grab it, but
I can.
Actually, quick, go grab it.
Yeah, let's keep talking.
So anyway, as Michael leaves the podcast for just a minute, bonus episode. All right, just remember that. I was very fascinated in that the marketing, the way we talk from a marketing perspective, and the way you hear it as a clinic owner or a clinician, it's just there's a bridge that we internally, like for the podcast, we need to bridge that gap as well.
Felt dumb.
I'm sorry?
I felt real dumb.
I was like, that's not the third thing.
Net promoter score.
Net promoter score. Thank you.
Reviews, and
right?
net promoter score is a huge deal, and moving at like half a point or a point, like what do they say, 70 is a goal?
Yes.
Something like that.
70 and above out of 100.
Yeah. And then if you hit 80 and above, you're like doing magical things.
Yeah.
So,
and I was very fascinated. There was like there was a philanthropy type urgent care there, and I think her net promoter score was like 91.
Yeah, that was
pretty incredible.
Yeah, they even said like it's unheard of.
Yeah.
And she was serving a demographic that was completely underserved.
Man, would I love to get her on the podcast.
Yeah, because it was so fast, just from a pure like funding standpoint to the concept to execution.
I want to raise $950 million.
Yeah, in like a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was just incredible to like big players on this thing. If you have an opportunity, if you ever get invited to this thing, we recommend it because you're going to get exposed. Like the talks were great, but the conversations at the lunch table were
the lunch table was definitely where we got most of our interaction from. The keynote speakers, you had mentioned there was the guy that runs the Amazon healthcare division.
Yeah, the One Medical.
One Medical, and it feels like a Trojan horse. If I'm being honest, it feels like a Trojan horse.
And I give Heather credit from Solv because she was she's the founder of Solv, but she also was basically the keynote, like the MC guy all the way through. And so she would always open up the Q&A and ask the harder question first. So when he spoke, like Amazon's a big name, right? Amazon destroyed your in-store stuff, right? Like all your local
retail.
Completely changed.
Reinvented it, I would say.
Yeah, reinvented what retail is today. And now it's like, are they going to reinvent the urgent care retail? And so One Medical's been out for a little while. This guy was basically the brains behind it. And so the first question out of the gate is like, are you a threat to our urgent cares in this room? And he's like, no. Of course he's going to say no. But
I mean, he considers himself a partner.
Yeah, he says we treat urgent cares just like we treat our reseller partners, where we are facilitating the patient, but you're actually doing the work and doing the reimbursement of it per se. But completely different animal. I kind of, when Nick and I were watching, I was like, this kind of feels like a Legal Shield situation where,
if you don't know what that is, I mean, just take 2 seconds to explain that.
So if you haven't been exposed to legal,
it's like prepaid legal.
It's prepaid, flat rate legal, where you're paying like $50 a month or whatever the number is.
Right.
And you get basic access to a lawyer, but you don't pick the lawyer. The lawyer could be in a different state for all you know. But you have like, hey, I need a lawyer letter. You send the request through Legal Shield, and a real lawyer will write it up and send it for you. Or I need 30 minutes of legal advice. A lawyer will talk to you. Now, will you get that lawyer twice? Probably not. But you get
I like Legal Shield. It helped me out in some areas when I needed it. So,
but it's the concept, right?
Yeah.
Where
I'm sure lawyers hate it.
Yeah,
but they're providing value. Yeah.
And I think Legal Shield has a place, right? Like,
but back to Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, just like Legal Shield has a place in the legal industry, because Legal Shield's been around probably 20 years at this point. It has a place for like quick answers with just enough, and it's easy access. One Medical is trying to approach that. Like, they're trying to become super easy access, literally in the app, like so easy. It's almost painful for you not to know how to do it.
Sure.
Where you tap, yes, no, literally you can do a telemedicine conference right then, or within a few hours max, and have a doctor talk to you.
I want to talk about telemedicine when you get a second.
Yeah. So like, it's so super, but he said, we're not a threat. We're here to facilitate. So what I'm hearing, what I think the threat could be, because you can talk about telemedicine, I think the threat could be toward telemedicine programs for urgent cares, where they can spin up their own, or they can just hook into One Medical and let One Medical deal with the headache, and they just process the patient.
Right.
So who knows? Like, it's still very new. If you're curious, you don't know what One Medical is, open up your Amazon app and hit the services drop down, and it's right there. Right. It's ready to be used.
Right.
So,
well, going back to telemedicine for just a second, there was a very interesting perspective on that from, again, this is one that has lots and lots of data. Hundreds of locations.
Yep.
The locations that are near or at capacity do really well with telemedicine, and the ones that are low, 20 patients or less, abysmal telemedicine
It's interesting.
adaptation, like 5% or less.
Yeah.
Of
I
people
think-
taking advantage of that.
Didn't they say like the one in Florida had all the locations was approaching 20% telemed?
Yeah, I mean that's a significant amount.
And even so in that panel of 3, we had one urgent care that probably had like 180 locations, and another urgent care that probably had over 200. And when the guy said, "Yeah, our telemed's about 20%," the other guy looked at him and said, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
And so he couldn't believe it. So for
Well,
those,
at the locations that were near at capacity.
Yeah,
just
so-
to be clear about that.
and so he couldn't believe it. And so that's something to tell you guys, like, you know, if you have a location that's hitting 1,000 patients a month, it's amazing if you get that to 1,100 or 1,200 patients a month because of telemed.
Yeah.
Like, that would be marked as a unique situation where typically that's not going to happen, actually.
But the other side of that is if you're at 50% of that, if you're at 500 patients per month, and you're trying to make telemedicine a healthy part of your business, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
Like you need to get the capacity up nearing 1,000 and then start pushing your telemedicine. According to what we heard from Stage, this isn't anything that we've seen in the data. This is what the data presented to us.
Yeah.
was.
So if you're barely cresting 1,000, you're not quite ready for telemed. Like you're getting close, but you got to be hitting some capacity numbers. And that goes back to, at the end of the day, they were all like, do your core well first. Don't try to do all these other things.
Right.
Because you're going to make it. Because we've had urgent cares try these other things and they they stopped it really quick.
Right.
But it became real messy.
Well, being a bonus episode, I don't want to go too long on here, but I do just want to say we've taken time to in past episodes to encourage you. You know, like go to these events. Saruka's coming up. By the time this comes out, we may be already there. But
Yeah, end of October, we'll have Saruka. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Not us, but
you get to meet our team, and they'll be there, and you'll love them.
you'll see our face
Yeah.
on a postcard.
But we always encourage you to go out to these events because of what you can learn and what you can take back and apply. So I think the Merchant Symposium was one of the nicer events that we've been to.
Yes.
Obviously, the venue was fantastic, which when you have a great venue, it breeds a good atmosphere.
It gave a completely vibe we were not expecting.
Yeah, I enjoyed it tremendously. So I want to encourage you, find these events that you can get into I mean, I know AFC has a private event.
It's going on right now.
Yep. Xperity has their event coming up that I'm trying to get into. Xperity, if you're listening, let us in. But like we're trying to get into these other events as well. And we want to encourage you, if you have an MD next to your name or you run an urgent care clinic, it's not a problem. You can go. We're the ones that typically have a challenge getting in, not you. So,
Oh yeah, because I mean there was 1 or 2 urgent cares that only had one location.
right.
So like there's flexibility in all these things, but at the end of the day, it's always good to see what your peers are up to, because whatever you're struggling with, they may be struggling with as well, or they figured out a solution and you have a chance to talk to them about it. So,
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go check out stuff. Thanks for listening to us. Go find an event you can plug into. Reach out to us. Leave us a review, and we will see you soon.
See ya.
See ya.